So a number of you have told me that you prefer vlog-style videos to my usual quick-edited style, and one of you asked me to discuss the difference between belief and knowledge. I've put the two together. Let's do this. Hey, Howie, say hi to everybody out there in YouTube land. Anyway, so to discuss belief versus knowledge, what is the difference between the two really? I mean, okay, when you think about it, how do we know anything? How do we know we know? I mean, by what justification, by what right do we say we have knowledge? How do we know that what we see is not an illusion? How do we know we're not a brain in a vat? You know, that it's not just some simulation world that we're experiencing and it's not the real one. Now, okay, I don't think that's very likely that we're having one of those brain in a vat scenarios. I really don't. I mean, I guess it's possible, but I don't think it's very likely. So, assuming we are not a brain in a vat, then again, how do we know the difference between belief and knowledge? Well, okay, for starters, part of the problem is that both belief and knowledge have different definitions that overlap a bit, you know, and it also makes it difficult to discuss the subjects at all because I might mean one kind of belief and you mean another. It's kind of like trying to discuss the word faith, you know, like being faithful to a spouse versus having religious faith are two completely different things. But you know, a lot of people will try to equate the two when you're arguing about them. It's kind of a pain. I mean, take, for example, okay, belief. Couple of the different definitions of the word belief. We have something believed, an opinion or conviction, like a belief that the earth is flat. Another definition, confidence in the truth or existence of something not immediately susceptible to rigorous proof. A statement unworthy of belief, that kind of thing. And then we have confidence, faith, or trust, a child's belief in his parents. And there's even a religious tenet or tenets, where we hear religious creed or faith, the Christian belief. Okay, so that's belief. But knowledge kind of overlaps a little bit. I mean, we have here, for knowledge, acquaintance with facts, truths, or principles as from study or investigation. Okay, that, you know, sounds pretty scientific. That's pretty good knowledge right there. But then we have familiarity or conversance, as with a particular subject or branch of learning. A knowledge of accounting was necessary for the job. That kind of overlaps a little bit with belief. I mean, like the one about how it's not subject immediately to rigorous proof. It's kind of the way, you know, faith overlaps with the whole like faith in my friends versus faith in God, blah, 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 all of that stuff. Yeah, and then we have acquaintance or familiarity gained by sight, experience, or report, a knowledge of human nature, the fact or state of knowing, the perception of fact or truth, clear and certain mental apprehension. And then there's also awareness as of fact or circumstance. So, I mean, knowledge is a lot fuzzier than at first it might appear. I mean, the first definition of knowledge there, acquaintance with facts, truth, or principles as from study or investigation, that's usually what I would mean if I said knowledge. If I said, I know X or I know Y or any of those things, I would be meaning that I had investigated, I had checked, I had verified, I had done the sort of like scientific investigation that you might expect, you know, where I would have checked to make sure that my perceptions had not been wrong the first time. I'd run multiple tests on something and experiment and you know, verify to make sure that my assumptions were not off base, you know. To me, knowledge is something that has been rigorously tested, something that has been verified, something about which you have made sure. Whereas a belief is fuzzier. A belief is something where it's like, well, I'm fairly convinced, but I don't know, I can't prove it, I don't have facts, that kind of thing. And what it comes down to is that religion is built upon belief, not fact, not evidence, not knowledge. No, religion is entirely about belief. You know, it's do you believe it? I mean, they demand faith of you. They demand that you believe regardless of whether they can actually back up their position with faith, with facts, with verifiable evidence. So really the difference, I mean, to put it as simply as possible, the difference between knowledge and belief is that knowledge can be verified, belief cannot. Once beliefs are verified, then they become knowledge. They become knowledge. You know, I mean, that's, I think, the best way to put it. Granted, like I say, there's a lot of overlap on these definitions, but I really don't see how else it could possibly be. You know? It's kind of like the difference between objective and subjective. You know, subjective is mind and perception, and it's not necessarily something that anyone but the beholder can ever know, so to speak. Whereas something that is objective will be true for anybody. It's not a matter of perception. That it's something that is mind external. Is something that's objective. So, you could say that beliefs are subjective and knowledge is objective. And you wouldn't be completely correct, but you'd be mostly correct. I mean, some of the ways in which you would not be completely correct in stating that is there are some things that are definitely true, definitely knowledge, that may not be objective. I mean, like, you know yourself, you know your personality, your thoughts, your hopes, your wishes, your desires, and well, those don't really manifest outside of your perception, outside of your beholding those things. So that's factual knowledge that is not objective, that frankly no one else can have unless you tell it to them. I mean, we don't have the technology yet. Maybe someday we will be able to like slice up somebody's brain and be able to read their thoughts that way. And let's hope we don't do that. But you know, at this time, there's really no way to objectively verify somebody's internal thoughts. But at the same time, their beliefs are they're up here, and you know, your beliefs are definitely, well, how do I put this? They're factual in that they exist, but what they are addressing may not be fact-based, if that makes sense. So yeah, those are my thoughts on knowledge versus belief. I hope that clears it up for people. It may not. I don't know. I did sort of get a little fuzzy, I know, when I was reading those definitions. But whatever. You know, this is BionicDance saying don't run on automatic. Instead, please think. Please take the time to rate this video. And hey, if you dig what I do, subscribe. And please visit my Zazzle store, where you'll find all kinds of BionicDance merchandise. If you don't like what I'm saying, there's a good chance you're the reason I'm saying it.